Hello, how's it going? Apologies if my voice sounds a little bit less enthusiastic in this video, I've got a bit of a cold. But today, Keeper Tia is turning his attention back to Loken. The Winterscorn War may be over, but with Ulduar still sealed off, it's only a matter of time before more conflicts arise. Ain't nobody got the time for that, so let's go! Tia, Arquitous and Ionea have a plan, and by God it might just work. They would steal the Discs of Norgannon from the heart of Ulduar. For those of you that need a refresher or are just joining us, the Discs of Norgannon are basically artifacts created to record the history of Azeroth as it unfolds. They have all the juicy details. If there was any hope of undoing the damage Loken had caused by his schemes, it would be through careful study of his actions. Tia devised a ruse. He travelled to the gates of Ulduar itself and he just kind of rang the doorbell. He called on Loken to give up control of Ulduar for the good of Azeroth. If he didn't comply, there would be dire consequences. Loken emerged and a fierce argument erupted between the two keepers. I'm sure they were both like, "You what, mate? Do you even lift? Fight me in real life." This was all part of the plan though. Whilst Loken was distracted, Arquitous and Ionea infiltrated the fortress and stole the Discs of Norgannon. The three of them then retreated back to the icy crags of the Storm Peaks. They knew it was only a matter of time before Loken figured out what had happened, so they decided to journey south in hopes of finding refuge to plan their next move. They gathered great numbers of Titan Forge that dwelled around Ulduar, a group of peaceful Vrykul that are indeed afflicted with the curse of flesh, the surviving Earthen, and some Mechanomes. Bye-bye. Loken soon realised the Discs of Norgannon were missing, and he crapped his pants. He knew that if these artifacts were presented to Algalon or the Pantheon, his life would be forfeit. So, in his desperation, he turned to the only creatures he knew were powerful enough to stop Tia, ancient kith'ix monstrosities known as Zakaj and kith'ix. These guys had served as the Black Empire's most cunning and ruthless kith'ixi generals. The Keepers had sealed them and many of the other Enraki in underground chambers. Loken excavated these tombs and roused Zakaj and kith'ix to life. They could sense the lingering touch of Yogg-Saron in Loken's mind, so they were like, cool beans. Zakaj and kith'ix overtook the fleeing Keepers and their followers. Fearing for his allies' lives, Tia ordered Arquitous and Ionea to lead the rest of the Titan Forge further south. He would stay behind and hold off the kith'ixi for as long as possible. Tia still had the bearish shadow of Agrimar's power within him, but the Titan's noble spirit had not flagged. Tia would not retreat, not when the lives of innocents were at risk. He grappled with the kith'ixi, sending torrents of arcane and shadow energy through the area. This violent struggle raged for a very specific 6 days and nights. Tia never gave ground, but neither did his foes. As fatigue set in, Tia resolved to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He unleashed all of his remaining power, expending his life force in a blinding explosion of arcane energy. He bloody exploded! Arquitous and Ionea watched as the eruption of magic flared across the horizon. After the energy subsided, they returned to the site of the battle. There, within a giant crater, they found the lifeless bodies of Tia and Zakaj. Despite facing hopeless odds, the Keeper of Justice had nearly killed both kith'ixi. kith'ix had only narrowly escaped. It was severely wounded and had blindly fled to the west, not to be seen again for many thousands of years. Ionea decided to name the surrounding glade Tia's Fall, which in the Vrykul tongue translated to Tirisfal. The mortals who would one day inhabit Tirisfal would feel two conflicting energies emanating from the earth, the remaining spiritual essences of both Keeper Tia and Zakaj. Ionea and her followers buried Tia and his foe where they lay. They placed Tia's massive silver hand atop his resting place as a memorial to his valiant sacrifice. The Vrykul had felt particularly compelled to do something more. They were so moved by the Keeper's deeds they decided to settle at the battle site and stand vigil over Tia's grave until the end of their days. Arquitous and Ionea honoured the Vrykul's wishes and continued south with the Earthen and Mechanomes in tow. Bye-bye. They eventually stopped at Alderman. They expanded the site, carving out new chambers to hold the Discs of Norgannon, and vowed to protect the history of Azeroth with their lives if need be. As the years passed, the Earthen and Mechanomes exhibited signs of the curse of flesh. The Earthen asked to be placed in hibernation until a cure could be found. The Mechanomes, however, decided to remain awake. Even though they knew the curse would one day overtake them, they heroically vowed to watch over Alderman and maintain its wondrous machineries. Loken was now very desperate after hearing that the kith'ixi had failed in their mission. He knew that Arquitous and Ionea would not attempt a direct assault on Ulduar, but the Discs of Norgannon still posed a threat. Alderman could easily be sealed off from intruders, so Loken decided there really was only one option. Replace the Discs of Norgannon with an archive of his own design. He's rewriting history. He would dub this archive the Tribunal of Ages. He adjusted historical events so that he liked them better, and also expunged his sins from the record. His archive was a bit flawed though. The histories stored within were warped even beyond his understanding. Just complete nonsense, innit? Loken then took one final drastic measure to prevent Arquiteth and Ionea's retribution. To stop his enemies from being able to summon the constellar Algalon, he altered the Titan communication devices in Ulduar. This meant no living creature would be able to contact him. The only way to draw the constellar to Azeroth would be through Loken's death. He figured, should he fall to his enemies, Algalon would take his revenge for him and wipe out every living creature on the planet. And we're leaving it there! So, there you go. Tyr's dead. Sacrificed himself so his friends could survive. What a nice thing to do. We've got one more video to do from Chapter 2 of Warcraft Chronicle. It's Curse of Flesh related, and I think you might find the revelation in that video kinda cool. That video will be up next Tuesday. You can totally subscribe so you don't forget about it. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that like button. Talk to me in the comments. Which Warcraft characters do you prefer? Do you like the good guys like Tyr, the Pantheon, those kind of people? Or do you find the villains more interesting? I'm kinda torn. I like characters that are good, but villains' storylines tend to be more interesting. But anyway, all that's left to say is, thanks very much for watching, and see ya!